What's up, everybody? It is another week of the Hoof podcast. Eric is he's out this week. He had a lot to do. He's moving back to the great state of New York. So it's just me and Anthony rocking the mic tonight. Anthony, man, how you doing?
Oh, I'm ready. I'm moved on from that disaster game on Monday, and I am looking forward to what should be an easy victory on Sunday. So I'm ready for it. Let's go.
Yeah, man, it's been a hard week trying to get over that Bills loss. I know for me, one of the things happens to me when the Bills lose like 2 weeks in a row. It's like I have to hit the reset button, right? Like I have to, I try to stay off Twitter as much as possible because, there's a lot of information out there, good or bad, good takes, bad takes. And I get frustrated, man. I really do. So I gotta monitor my Twitter usage after those losses because it can get heated, and I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm just I'm just going with the flow. I'm staying in my lane, man. You know how it is.
I hear you there. There's definitely that depression that always hits after a Bills loss, right? We all get that. But, man, I made the mistake of keeping my alerts on Facebook, and every time somebody posted in one of the Bills groups, it was, fire this guy, get rid of that guy, what's going on with this guy, just all the nonsense that comes out, and you want to try and avoid that because I did end up snapping on a few people and saying, you have no idea what you're talking about, so don't post stuff like this. But yeah, it's ridiculous what happens after a Bills loss. Look, both losses were disappointing, there's no doubt about it, but those are the two teams that were in the AFC Championship game. The Bills have to prove they can beat those teams eventually. To be the team, you got to beat the team, right? So those are the two teams that were top in the AFC last year. But the season is still going, and we're 4-2 in first place in the division, facing, two division rivals coming up here in the Jets and then the Patriots. And it's looking pretty good for the Bills still.
Yeah, I mean, you make a good point. Those are the two teams that were in the AFC Championship game. Just seeing how fast and how hot these Bills came out the first 4 weeks, your expectations have to rise. I mean, we can't, not saying you are, but, the fan base in general, man, we can't just be, kind of not having, high expectations for this team. I mean, they did boast one of the top 3 defenses in the NFL, and then you had a red-hot surging Josh Allen coming into the season. So, your expectations and your, vision for this team, it gets elevated, because we look at it from a different lens. We want our teams to be great, right? So it's been humbling to come back to earth and reassuring in the sense that, yeah, those were the two teams in the AFC Championship game. But the problem is, and we're going to talk about this later, is that there's so many issues, and you're left to wonder, how is this team going to bounce back? That's where I am. Like, how are you going to battle adversity? How are you going to right the ship, so to say? And that's the dilemma I have. So it's a tough schedule, as we know. So we're just going to have to see what happens.
Yeah, we got to bounce back this weekend against the Jets. Excuse me. Yeah, I mean, this game is huge in so many ways. You got to right the ship. You got to do what needs to be done. You're expected to beat this team. It's basically a bye week to let you get prepared for the huge game against the Patriots the following week. You got to come. You got to do what needs to be done, win the game, and keep moving on with this schedule.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So, all right. So here we go, man. Cash or trash? Can we do this? I got a few questions for you, cash or trash, and then you throw yours at me.
All right, let's do this.
Okay. All right. Anthony Romeo, I'm putting you on the clock, son. All right. Cash or trash? Do you see the Bills or Brandon Beane making a trade at the deadline?
Ooh. I'm going to go with cash because I think at this point we all feel like they need to make a move. It might not be a big splashy move that we all love, but I think they're going to bring in somebody from somewhere in a trade. So I do think we have to – that defense needs help, whether it's cornerback, defensive line, linebacker at this point. I just think, yeah, they have to bring somebody in a trade.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you on that. I'm gonna go cash. I don't know what side of the ball that's gonna be on. I mean, there's trade candidates on both sides that seem that could work. On offense, John Ross just gives you another speed element.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, I mean you're giving up peanuts for him. 6-7 round pick. You can get John Ross. I think another name to look out for on offense is a running back. You'd be surprised at how teams are quick to move on from high-priced running backs. I don't have a name in particular as of right now, but the Bills do need some help in the backfield or an offensive lineman. I mean, we've seen, we let go of Quentin Spain this week. I wasn't too fond of that move, by the way. So I could see, on that side of the ball. In defense, Carlos Dunlap from the Bengals, Geno Atkins, maybe a nickel cornerback somewhere.
Well, let's not get too carried away. Remember, the whole point of the biggest limiting factor for the Bills right now is their salary cap. We only have like $4 or $5 million in salary cap room right now, which is why we can't bring in some of these bigger name guys. And I know we talked about the guys over at the Bengals on the live show, but both of those guys have high salaries. And it looks like the Bengals aren't even willing to trade them at this point, which seems weird. But, so guys like that, I don't know that they'll bring in. But there's something to be had out there that you can bring in to help that defensive line, maybe specifically, maybe at cornerback, maybe at linebacker. Those would be the three positions that I would desire the most. How you're going to make that work, I don't know. But it depends on how much you're willing to give up.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
You said. And the return on in terms of can we afford to bring them on with the salary they currently have?
Yeah, I think the salary cap, I mean, yes, it is a sticking point, but it's one of those things where, if you're making a trade, you can offload players. Like, you can get rid of Trent Murphy and you can save $8 to $10 million,
Nobody's
right?
going to take that money.
I guarantee you somebody would take it. I'm telling you.
Trent Murphy was just benched because he was not playing well. You think somebody's going to trade to pay him $8 million?
Dude, I'm telling you.
You'd have to give them a significant pick. So if whoever you're trading for is worth a third-round pick, you'd have to give them a second-round pick and Trent Murphy, if that's the case. And I don't think the Bills are willing to go that high.
No, I'm not saying that, but, the NBA does it all the time where they offset salaries and so forth. I just think it's one of those things where it's one of those things that it totally could happen because teams, coaches feel like they can get the most out of a player. They just do. That's just their mindset. You
Certainly.
Give me him and I can turn him into whatever. They're, just like the Kelvin Benjamin thing. Bills gave up a third-round pick because they felt like that's the push they needed to go to the playoffs, right?
And Brandon Beane hasn't really made an in-season trade since then because that one didn't work out. So
okay, and last year he tried to get Stephon Diggs. He was on an interview with Pat McAfee this summer where he talked about him trying to get him at the trade deadline this past season. So I know Brandon Beane is active. I know he's always looking. I just hope that he can pull the trigger somewhere. So next question. Micah Hyde tells reporters today that the Bills' defense is very close to righting the ship. Is that cash or trash?
Micah Hyde said that today?
Micah Hyde.
Oh, man. I'll tell you what. I want to believe that, but I'm going to go trash for now. I think they can right the ship, and maybe they're close to righting the ship. Maybe he just means because they're playing the Jets this week, so that's going to right the ship on its own. But you need to do more than that, and I think we're going to talk more about the flaws that we saw coming out of this Kansas City game. But, I certainly don't think it's okay, we talked about it, and now all of a sudden it's better, so we're good to go kind of deal here. It's going to take a few weeks. It's going to take some tweaking. It's going to take trying different things, which they did in that Kansas City game. Not that it worked out too well, but I'm going to say trash for now.
Yeah, I want to be optimistic here. For the sake of, diversity on the show, I'll go cash. I think, let's take the lens off here, right? Sean McDermott and Leslie Frazier, they are, I would say a top 5, top 10 defensive mind in this league. I don't think it's scheme that's troubling these Bills. I think it's execution. It's execution and it's lack of togetherness on that defense that they're having struggles with. I think maybe over time, and just because this is not just a Bills thing, but this is a league-wide trend that defenses aren't playing very well this year. Hopefully, as the season goes on, things tighten up. I think it's going to help getting Levi Wallace back, and then you'll have Josh Norman. You can use him in different kind of ways. You can kind of throw, Josh Norman. They can kind of do reps like they did with Kevin Johnson last year, kind of platooning the cornerback 2 position and lining Josh Norman up in different ways. So I know he would definitely help out in the run game at corner. So I don't know, man. We'll see. I think maybe by week 11, hopefully, I think that's probably the time where we could start to see this defense is going to be either good or is this going to stay where it's at.
Yeah, I mean, something's got to give here. Something's got to give. We need to improve on defense. It's just got to happen. We talked about this again on the live show. There's so much that's going wrong right now, so much that has to be righted. I take it one step at a time at this point. Just get better, just keep improving into November, into December, into the playoffs when it really matters most. That's when you want to be playing your best football. So let's keep optimizing, keep improving, keep changing what we need to, and work toward that end goal.
All right, so last one for you. Will Antonio Brown have a big impact with Seattle? Now, Antonio Brown he has to wait 8 weeks to be signed by another team or whatever, and that eight weeks is coming up here in the next week. So Seattle's been all over him. Will Antonio Brown have an impact with Seattle, cash or trash?
This is another tough one. If he plays in the game, cash. There's no doubt about it. The dude is talented and a player to be reckoned with when he's on the football field. The problem I have, or the skepticism I have that I want to say trash, is he's still Antonio Brown. We've seen the antics off the field. We've seen him screw opportunity after opportunity up because of his decision-making and his poor, life choices. So I want to say cash because when he's on the field, he's the best at his position. There's no doubt about that. And he still has that talent level. And, man, could you imagine Russell Wilson throwing to him, DK Metcalf? Oh, my God, that's a dangerous bunch there. And so, I mean, yes, I'll go cash that if he plays and if he's out there, he will have a hell of an impact on the NFC and on the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, I can totally see that. And you just hope that whatever he was going through, whether it was a mental struggle or just having a hard time, and I'm a firm believer in chances. I think he can get it together, man. I hope he can get it together. I think the NFL is a much better place when Antonio Brown is Antonio Brown, just not the off-field drama. So we'll see. Now, they're saying that they're going to sign him. It's been rumored, and Des Bryant might be headed to the Ravens as well. So those two are expected to sign with those respective teams. So we will see how it folds, man. We'll see how it goes. All right. So you got some for me.
Yeah, I got a couple for you too. And, since you started, talking about the NFC, I'll lead with this one. Cash or trash, the Chicago Bears win the NFC North. They're currently in first place in the NFC North after that Green Bay loss. So cash or trash, what do you think? The Chicago Bears are legit. They're going to win the NFC North.
I think the Chicago Bears have a good shot to win the NFC North, being where they are right now. I think they'll have a tough test playing Green Bay again, but if they can get that win, that'll be great. I'm not worried about the Lions. I'm not worried about Minnesota because they have Kirk Cousins. So I think if they don't win the division, I'm pretty sure they can get a wild card. I mean, Chicago's playing really well. And the thing that stands out to me about that Chicago Bears team is that their defense is just solid. I mean, it's been solid. They got some studs up front. Their front seven is really good. And they got one of the best safeties in the game in Eddie Jackson, Khalil Mack on that line. I mean, there's name after name that you can go after and look at this team and go, okay, you got Nick Foles, a veteran who can come in and he's not going to make too many mistakes. He's going to, put his team in offense in position to win. So, I mean, it's can you withstand injuries and can you continue your success? I don't think they've had a great tough schedule as of yet. I mean, they did play the Bucks and they won. They did play Green Bay, so those are two, I would say, top teams in the NFC and maybe in the NFL. So we'll see how the rest of their schedule unfolds, but I definitely think that they can do it.
Wow, I like it. I picked the Minnesota Vikings to win this division in the preseason, so there's one prediction that went down the drain pretty fast. They're now 1-5, and they just traded Yannick Ngakoue, who they traded for just at the start of the season. So it's looking like they're pretty dismal right now. The Detroit Lions are what we know they are. They're not a threat at all. The Green Bay Packers, everybody was thinking they're the best team in the NFL, and then they got their butts handed to them by Tampa Bay in a game, where they have kind of no excuses. They were coming off a bye. Their offense didn't have anybody injured. They're still supposed to be high-powered, and they got their butts kicked by Tampa Bay. So Chicago has a legitimate chance at winning this division, which I think would be a surprise for most people, including us. I think all three of us picked either Green Bay or Minnesota to come out of this division.
For sure.
So, I mean, now that Chicago made that move from Trubisky, which I think none of us believed in Trubisky, and now Nick Foles, he's not exactly lighting the world on fire. He's mediocre, but he's certainly better than Trubisky and can lead that team. So it'll be exciting to watch that, as the season progresses, that matchup. All right, I got another one for you. We'll go back to a Bills-centered question here. Friend of the Bills, guy we all love, Ryan Fitzpatrick, was benched this week in favor of Tua. And his comments, I read them as the week went on, and you really feel for the guy, right? I mean, he's playing his heart out. He's got this team playing hard, 3-3, going into a second place in the division, and he gets benched. And he said it really broke his heart, and he hasn't been all in since he was in Buffalo. So I've got a great theoretical question that's come up in some other Bills podcasts and Bills Talk on Twitter. Cash or trash, Ryan Fitzpatrick comes back to the Buffalo Bills next year as the backup quarterback.
I'm going to say cash on that because, if you hear Ryan Fitzpatrick speak and what he thinks and says of Buffalo, it's glowing. He loves Buffalo. Josh Allen is one of his best friends. Now, the situation in Miami, he even said it in the interview. He said he knew it was coming. Well, he knew at some point that they were going to hand the reins over to Tua, whether that happened earlier in the season or now or later, just because of the competitor he is, it bothered him, it frustrated him, it hurt him. So I think it's a perfect situation where he can come in and be Josh Allen's backup. God, I hope Josh Allen never gets hurt. But I would love to have Fitz as a backup quarterback and what he could do if he were to have to play with these weapons on offense. I think it would be a great fit.
Yeah, I love it. I'm all over this idea. I actually made this move in my Madden franchise mode over the summer when I was playing. So I went into after the 2020 season when Fitzpatrick was a free agent, I signed him to be the backup to the Buffalo Bills. So I would love to see that happen in real life. He's just a guy we can all get behind and like, and he's obviously known for having great football knowledge and being able to mentor other players and be a leader in that locker room. I'd love to see it for sure. All right, I got one more for you.
Okay, go for it.
All right, here we go. Ready for this one?
All right.
Get back to the AFC picture here.
Okay.
The Kansas City Chiefs are the defending champions. They're 4-1. Are the Kansas City Chiefs the team to beat in the AFC? Cash or trash?
Oh, that's cash, man. I think when you're the reigning Super Bowl champion, I think you're the king of the hill. And I still think they're the best team in the league right now. Even though they beat our Bills, I still think, and they're adding Le'Veon Bell. Like, damn, like how much? How more?
200 rushing yards wasn't enough for them.
Yeah. Now you got a guy that's coming out of the backfield that can catch the ball. He can run. Dude, it's just they just got better. So. Yeah, I think they're the best team in the league, and I think they're the best in the AFC. I expect them to be in the AFC Championship game for sure.
All right, so I'm going to play devil's advocate here and say trash, and I'll tell you why. Our Buffalo Bills lost 2 weeks in a row. Who did we lose to? The Tennessee Titans and the Kansas City Chiefs. And which team of those two looked better against us? That was definitely the Tennessee Titans right now. So they're the team that I'm afraid of more than the Kansas City Chiefs. I felt like the weather had a big factor in that Chiefs game. We didn't get to play the type of offense we wanted to. Tennessee, I mean, the COVID situation screwed that one up too, but still, they came out playing and they kicked our butts. There's no question about it. Another team to be afraid of is the undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers, right, who are going against the undefeated Tennessee Titans this week, which will be a great matchup of the week. But the Steelers are no joke, too, and the Bills will get to see them in the regular season coming up here, too. So it's going to be interesting to see how the AFC works out. It's a fun conference right now. There's a lot of really good teams competing, and the playoffs are geared up to be some great matchups this year.
Yeah, man, the fact that you picked Tennessee, I could see that. But I still think that at the end of the day, quarterback play matters, and Mahomes is a much better quarterback than Ryan Tannehill. Although Ryan Tannehill is playing lights out, he's playing some of the best ball that he's ever played in his career. And then you got Derrick Henry back there. I mean, God, the guy is basically unstoppable. He's playing lights out now, and we've kind of seen this from Derrick Henry. He kind of starts off slow, and then he goes on a tear. So I think they've kind of found their niche. You know, they're missing. They got rid of a couple pieces on that offensive line, but it seems like they're gelling well enough now. I mean, the guy busts off for a 94-yard touchdown run last week, and nobody even touched him. So this Titans, you're right. That Titans team is dangerous, coached by Mike Vrabel. They're tough. They're competitive. They know their assignments well. And to go back and talk about, you know, a point you made, how they demolished the Bills. I mean, let's keep in mind too the COVID week, like you mentioned, but also the Bills were kind of put in some unfortunate situations with those turnovers, you know, the short field. So I mean, it kind of got out of hand quick. I don't think the Bills were ready to play having 2 game plans, but we talked about that. So I don't think the Bills got a fair shot at the Titans.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that's wrapping up cash or trash. So let's Anthony, let's kind of talk about maybe a couple things around the league. You know, Yannick Ngakoue, you mentioned him earlier. I just, man, the fact that I did not see that trade coming. I knew that he wasn't producing like maybe they envisioned, just because I watched a couple Minnesota games.
Man, I don't know. He's got 5 sacks on the year and 2 forced fumbles. So I think it's just the Minnesota defense as a whole wasn't producing, and they didn't want to. They were like, okay, we don't want to wait to get, you know, compensatory picks. We'd rather get picks straight up for him. So.
Yeah, maybe it was a situation where they, you know, Yannick was like, yo, I'm not going to resign. You know, maybe it was one of those conversations they had with the agent, or maybe it's just that they saw the green light with, like you mentioned, the compensatory picks. And they want to get younger at the position. You know, Danielle Hunter today, I think he's out for the season now. Another defensive end that's out. So I think, you know, Yannick he's one of those players that I always wanted the Bills to get. I wanted Brandon Beane to investigate that. And the fact that you send him to Baltimore, right. The Ravens, I mean, God, they're just stacked on that front seven, man. And
the
it's
rich
like,
get richer here. It
right?
was. I was like, wow, yeah. For him to go to Baltimore of all places.
And Brandon Beane and the Bills, we're over here eating Cracker Jacks in the corner. I'm like, what the hell, dude? Like, can we do something? You know, and I know people are going to say, well, you know, you're overreacting. You can't, you know, they can't just make moves. Well, shit, yes, you can. I mean.
Well, again, I think the only issue here was the salary. You got $13 million that he's owed, I believe, because he's under the franchise tag still this year, even though he's been traded twice now. So it's a matter of, could they have made the salary work? Yeah, maybe if they pulled the trigger in the offseason, they definitely could have cut Trent Murphy, as I was clamoring for, and then used the extra money they had to sign or get Yannick, you know, and give up a second-round pick, which is now a third and a fifth. You know, again, I hear you, Sterling. That seems like, God, the Bills definitely should have pulled the trigger. He's definitely worth a third and a fifth right now to get that defense going again. But the problem really comes down to salary, and apparently the Bills looked into it, couldn't make it work, and said it's not for us. So, I don't know.
Yeah. Jadeveon Clowney is another name. The Bills could have had him. He's playing really good. I mean, Jadeveon Clowney is never going to stuff the stat sheet with sacks, but what he does in the run game and his athletic ability, McDermott could kind of use him as a chess piece off the line. Well, not now because he doesn't play for us, but, those are just the kind of moves, man, that kind of get me frustrated, Anthony. Like, why would you go out and draft A.J. Epinesa? And from day one, I've never been a fan of drafting A.J. Epinesa.
You were not happy about it, no.
No. So you spent a second-round pick on a guy that he needs time, and I can never, watching film, I don't see him flash. Why would you take a second-round pick? And of course, they're going to say, well, he had a first-round grade. But you're taking a second-round pick on a guy that, I just don't think has much upside. I think he's a solid contributor at best. I don't think he doesn't have that flash potential. So I was kind of irritated at that. And then just to see how bad the defense played. I'm not saying it's all AJ Epinesa's fault. I mean, he's a rookie. He's got to get it together. But man, like I just feel like that pick was wasted. Where you could have got a cornerback. There were cornerbacks available in the second round.
Yeah.
And I'm not even going to go ahead.
I still am on board with A.J. Epinesa. I think he's going to improve. He's going to get better. Next year will probably be a starter and be a bigger name for us. Who knows? He could be catching on at the end of this season, giving him more and more snaps as the year goes on, and hopefully he catches on sooner rather than later. But that may not be the case. He is still a rookie. I'm pointing the finger at all the other guys on that defensive line that don't have excuses. Aside from maybe Mario Addison, who's playing the best of the guys we've got. Butler, where the heck has he been? Obviously Trent Murphy, who I've spoken at length about and who was inactive for this game versus the Chiefs because of his, play on the field. Harrison Phillips, we know, is coming back from injury and is probably not 100% quite yet. But he was also inactive for that game because he just wasn't playing up to par. And you got to be able to get something done on that defensive line. We brought in all these guys. We had, the guys who stayed there, and it's still not enough. I mean, Jerry Hughes, he's just not producing what he needs to for this team. I'm not sure what it is that this defensive line needs to do, but they need to change it up. They need to get something in there, change of attitude, change of direction, something.
Yeah, and I think maybe that's one of the reasons why they let go of Quentin Spain. Don't know what it was like in the locker room, but I can only imagine. Quentin Spain is an outspoken person. We do know that, especially on social media. And if he's not playing and inactive and so forth, I mean, you just paid him, a $15 million contract, for 3 years. So if I were him, I would be like, what the hell is going on? When he's obviously better than Brian Winters. Right, he's better than Cody Ford is right now, and so I'll be frustrated too. So these are the kind of moves like that kind of got me frustrated.
Yeah, I mean, I think Spain specifically, there is some story we are not hearing. Something happened, whether it was in the locker room, off the field, whatever it is. There's something that's not being spoken out here, and maybe it's just the fact that they felt like he wasn't playing well, and they decided to bench him, and he freaked out about it, and the team said, "All right, we're just going to move on," and that's that. But it just seems very fishy. There's still something, like you just said, Cody Ford is injured, right? He's might not play this weekend, probably won't. And our other guard is Brian Winters, who certainly has not been playing well, and I think was playing worse than Spain. So I'm not sure what the story is there. I'm not sure that we will ever know what really happened there. But the fact that they just straight up cut him tells me, yeah, something must have happened communication-wise with those guys, and they just decided it was better to rip the Band-Aid and move on.
Yeah, maybe that's the case, man. I mean, we still don't know. I heard, in the report in the media today or yesterday that there was a team looking to snatch Zimmer off the practice squad, and so they made a move. They got rid of Quentin Spain and activated Justin Zimmer to the 53-man roster. So, I mean, I don't think that can be the lone reason as to why you give up a guard when you're having issues on the offensive line.
Certainly not. Yeah.
Right? And then on top of that, so, why did we let go of Kevin Johnson? Kevin Johnson could play the slot. He could play cornerback 2. But
I think that was just a matter of he got more money to go elsewhere, and they didn't feel like paying him. Right? We got him for pennies last year, but when it came after his injury, he's coming off an injury, so they got him pretty cheap. He played well, and he got paid. Right? So they decided not to pay him. Same thing you could say about Jordan Phillips and what's his name, Shaq Lawson. Right? They both signed pretty big deals elsewhere.
For sure.
That was an active move by the Bills in not signing them, right? Like, hey, we love you, but we'd love you to be on this team, but we're not going to pay you $10 million a year, Shaq Lawson. We're not going to pay you $15 million a year. What's his name? Oh, geez, just dropped out of my mind.
Jordan Phillips.
Jordan Phillips, yeah, who everybody wanted. I mean, I love those guys. I do. They contributed to our team last year, but in the end, are they worth the contracts they got? Probably not. Could we still use them on this team? Definitely, but that's not the direction we went in. And I would argue the talent they brought in is better than those guys. They just haven't been playing up to it.
No, and I can totally see that, and it's just me as of right now being a fan, looking at it from more of a fan's perspective than an analytical scout perspective, right? So I just, I've never been the guy. I love Brandon Beane, Sean McDermott, and how they move and operate and so forth. But, man, if fans out there are thinking that, these guys are untouchable in terms of, they're going to make mistakes. Nothing's going to be perfect. No one's expecting it to be perfect. But sometimes, man, you just got to, go with some of these situations where you look and A.J. Epinesa, to me, doesn't cut it. I know we got Zach Moss in the third round. Okay, that's a good pick, but – man, we're getting nothing from these
rookies, though.
No, and I am.
You can't
Josh
lean
Norman,
on the rookies
Josh
right
Norman.
now.
Okay, Josh Norman, who makes $6 million a year.
He's got to play way better than that to earn his money. Yeah.
Yeah. Butler is not holding his own, right? Mario Addis is playing okay. He's playing okay, but they're paying him good money too. So I need more production out of him. Jerry Hughes has got a big salary. I mean, this is offensive line that is in the mid 50 millions in terms of what they're paying their defensive line, and they're getting nothing from them. Absolutely nothing. The Bills lack depth at linebacker, big time.
Yeah, unfortunately, we've seen that, and I talked a lot about this on Twitter this week. No matter who you have on the field, when Matt Milano is not on the defense, is not playing, the defense is terrible. It doesn't matter who's starting for us. Pick the best players we've had over the last 3 years. When Milano's out, the defense sucks, and that's not okay. You have to have somebody who can fill that role, especially if you know that's the case. This isn't a secret. It's not a secret that Milano's had some injury problems. It's not a secret that when he's not in the defense, that the defense is terrible, no matter who else is out there. So why didn't you invest in a linebacker who can fill that role, right? It's just like, okay, you brought in Deion Lacey, Terrell Dodson. Like, these guys aren't quality enough players to be able to walk in and fill that void.
Yeah, I mean, I think they took a chance in that and thinking that, neither one of these guys is going to get hurt. And Tremaine Edmonds is still a top linebacker in the league. I just think he's hurt, and right now he's trying to play two positions. And which is making him out of position, and his health, like I said, his health is not where it needs to be. So he's struggling right now. But I think Tremaine, we did see him last week play a lot better. Hopefully, that's the trend moving forward. Well, he filled the
stat sheet, right? He had like 12 tackles, I think, but it still was by no means a good game for him. I think he got beat on a couple of plays, so we know he can do better. I honestly am giving him a bit of a pass because of the injury issues, because he's so young. But even Trey White, right? Who's our best defensive player, period? Trey White, right? He's the guy we all rely on. And it's not that he's playing terribly either, but he's not playing up to the level of elite corner that we know he can be. And he's gotten beat on a few passes this year. And he was, made a move that allowed Kelsey to score in the end zone against Kansas City, which, is normally not a move we're seeing Trey White make. So, I mean, he's got to improve too. There's plenty of blame to go around on this Bills defense. They have to be better in order to compete, in order to be at the level that we want to be.
Well, of course, and you mentioned Trey White, and watching the film again, they were, they were in a bracket coverage, cover two, and Micah Hyde, Trey White was expecting Micah Hyde to be over top. That's what it looks like to me, to be over top, to take away, that post corner route, and he just wasn't there. So, I think Stevie Johnson made a great point in a tweet this week. He said that, the cornerbacks aren't playing physical enough, right? So they're kind of, and that's that zone defense kind of, we're going to lay back, bend, but don't break. But at some point, you got to get your hands on these wide receivers, man. And you got to dictate the tempo of the game, the tempo and the speed of the secondary. Yeah. When was the last time we got an interception? Was Levi Wallace? When was the last time we had a defensive touchdown scored? I mean, it's been years.
That's not what this defense is used to doing, but still, they've got to produce somehow. If you're going to give up 200 yards rushing, you got to be an elite pass defense that scores points, right? Like it's ridiculous. You can't have it. There's nothing I can point to on defense right now that they're doing well, which is not a great thing to say about a defense, but it's just the reality of the situation here. Josh Norman, I like his physical play when he can punch out a ball and all that, but what we saw against Kansas City is they started targeting him and he was getting penalties, right? The either holding or pass interference calls and all that, because they know that he's going to be physical enough and make the wrong decision at the wrong time, basically, or give up a big play. And I think teams are going to continue to target Josh Norman in that way. I never thought we'd be begging for Levi Wallace to come back and get on the field again, but, there's something to be said about even being able to rotate those guys so that they're situationally in the position to make their best play.
Absolutely. Teams are targeting Josh Norman, and we saw last year with the Redskins that, he was their number one corner and they were targeting him and roasting him. So, Ryan Tannehill gets in the game. Well, he starts the game, and the first thing he looks for is A.J. Brown, who Josh Norman is guarding, and that's 6. Josh Norman ain't what he used to be, man. He can't go step for step with these number 1 wide receivers or these number 2 wide receivers for that matter. He's getting toasted. And then, you got Taron Johnson who's not playing well. I think Taron Johnson offers you some run support, but in terms of coverage, he's one of the worst nickel cornerbacks in the league in terms of coverage. And that's not just me being funny or, being a hater.
He's given up the most yards.
Yeah, the stats prove that he's not getting it done. So, you think about it, man. When these teams have multiple wide receiver threats, I know every team's not Kansas City, but, there are teams out there that have, a couple weapons, 2 or 3 weapons. And right now the Bills have a glaring weakness. So, think about it. You don't have a pass rush, so quarterbacks are able to hold the ball when they want to or get rid of the ball as quick as they want to their first read. That's going to hurt Trey White. That's going to hurt Poyer. That's going to hurt Micah Hyde. You know, and the linebacking position, Tyrell Dodson's athletic, but he doesn't have the instincts right now to be a threat on the field. That's why you see a lot of AJ Klein is in the game, and I know AJ Klein got a forced fumble, but AJ Klein can't cover a tight end or a running back. And that's a problem.
Well, and we haven't even gotten to the penalties that killed us, right? Especially in this Kansas City game, late in the game when you have Trey White throwing a fist, pushing a guy out of bounds when you're clearly on the sideline. It wasn't much of a shove, but still it's like, come on, you can't do that. What the hell are you doing? Be disciplined, be smart. And Jordan Poyer, I thought this one was a little more shaky. The tackle out of bounds, it just looked like he was following through on the tackle, but it was after the white line, so it does count as a 15-yard personal foul penalty. But still, those penalties were killer. That was 30 yards of penalties on the same drive that Kansas City then scored on that drive, basically on the effort of our defensive players. So, you can't allow those things to happen. That's a game changer. This team has to be more disciplined, especially in those situations.
Yeah, they lack discipline. Third downs is another one, man.
Yeah, killer. Third and 19, third and 12.
They're getting first downs.
They're getting crushed.
That's not okay.
You can't play, prevent defense on third and long, right? You have to still get after it and be aware of what's happening on the field.
Yeah, we saw this is one of the things that lost us the playoff game. 3rd and 21, the Texans convert a third down, and it's like, come on, dude. Like, we're seeing some of the same stuff, and it's like, how do they fix it? But, we know the Bills they got work to do on both sides of the ball. So why don't we do this, Anthony? Let's look forward to this Jets game, all right? So
yes, we're preparing for the New England Patriots, right? You mean this game that happens Sunday? Right?
Yeah, whatever you want to call this gathering, meeting. It's like bringing the coleslaw to the barbecue, right? the salad with raisins in it to the barbecue.
Yeah, there you go.
That's what the Jets are. This is a 0-6 team. They are selling the farm. They traded McClendon. They made another trade. They traded a linebacker as well this week. This is a Jets team, and they cut Le'Veon Bell. So this is a Jets team that clearly, they have to be looking for the number 1 overall pick, which is going to be Trevor Lawrence. They've broken Sam Darnold. He's hurt. We don't know if he's playing this week. And then you got Joe Flacco coming in the game last week. He had a 68.7 rating, and he had 4.2 yards per attempt for the pass. That is atrocious, man.
Yeah.
It's atrocious. The Jets' offense, passing yards, they are 171.3 yards per game. This is a Jets team it's a complete shit show from management all the way down to the players. This stems for the past few years. You can just look at the issues. Players don't want to play there. The morale is down. Adam Gase is, to me, from what we could see, is not a leader of men. So they're having some real tough issues. So,
well, yeah, I think one of the biggest advantages the Bills have in this game is that the Jets have nothing to play for and don't want to play, right? Look at their team. Who on that team is motivated to come out, give their best effort, and make plays and show that they're still legitimate? Nobody. They got nothing to prove on that team. There's nothing anybody on this team can do to, get excited, to get hyped about. I don't care if Frank Gore has a 200-yard game against the Bills, which would be absolutely atrocious. But, again, what's that do for Frank Gore and this team? Nothing. They're not going to get excited about that. They've got some guys who have been injured who are coming back. You think they're excited to come play for this team now, regardless of if Sam Darnold's throwing them the ball or if it's Joe Flacco? No, the same thing on the defense. What you just said it. They traded away 2 players that were contributing, and now it's like, okay, so we're going to go out there and put our butts on the line and give it everything we got to know that we'll be 1 win and have improved absolutely nothing about our situation. There's no motivation on this team, and that's exactly the kind of team that you want to play on Sunday. So the Bills have every advantage in this game, regardless of who's on the field and who's not.
Yeah, again, man, this is a Jets team that they're just bad. They're just bad right now, and they've been banged up with injuries too. It's not peaches and cream over there on that team. They got their best linebackers are out, right? And they one opted out because of COVID. So. We get to see Bless Austin again, which is going to be amazing.
Yes.
Marcus May is playing. Marcus May is actually playing really well. Pierre Desir is probably going to get roasted this weekend. The thing I'm worried about with this Jets team, though, is that Henry Anderson is super extremely dirty, and I expect him to take a cheap shot at Josh Allen. Like he always does.
Their whole team is. We know that. That is true. I didn't bring that up thinking this week, but you're right. That's 100% going to be a problem. Greg Williams is still the defensive coordinator there, and he should not, as we've said in the beginning of the season when we played them, he should not even be in the NFL because he's dirty, and these tapes were released of what he actually said during Bountygate. It was disgusting and unacceptable,
It was.
And the man should not have a job, period. He should be sitting at home thinking about what he did and why it was wrong, right? But instead, now we have to face this defense, and maybe that is their motivating factor. Let's injure these guys, and that's just completely wrong. But we know they play dirty, and the referees better be watching out for it because we know they were protecting the Kansas City Chiefs in that game. They better be protecting the Bills in this game.
Absolutely. So, we know this Jets team, and they're susceptible to rub routes and drag routes, guys getting open that way. And we know this year the Bills have done that really well. They actually did that really well in the first game. But, the offense was kind of they were still trying to find their way because it was the first game of the season. So, they definitely need help. Quinnen Williams is another name that I'll bring up. They've been talking about trading him even. They just drafted the guy last year, right? They're talking about trading Sam Darnold. I mean, they are obviously trying to get rid of pieces. And if I'm not mistaken, they have 9 picks in the next 2 or 3 drafts each, and they, I think, maybe 12 picks in the first 3 rounds or something like that. So they're loaded with draft picks. But the problem, you can have all these picks, Anthony, but the problem is, do they ever draft well enough? I thought their draft this year was pretty decent compared to what they've had, but they don't develop their players well.
Yeah, I was just about to say, you mentioned Sam Darnold and Quinnen Williams, 2 of their top 10 picks over the last few years, and they're on the trading block right now. So, I mean, if you can have all top 10 picks, but if you can't get the most out of those players and you end up trading them away because they're unhappy or because your team sucks or because whatever else, that's not success at all. You're never going to find success that way.
No, you're gonna have big time issues, and so that's what the Jets bring. Now they do have some question marks coming into this game. You got Jamison Crowder, who's questionable. Mm-hmm. Denzel Mims is on IR, right?
Crowder is a big one for the Bills, right? He's killed the Bills when he's played us. So.
Crowder usually has a good game against the Bills, and he's playing well this year because that's their only target in the pass game, really. You got Brashad Perriman, as you mentioned. It looks like he's free.
Back,
he's free to play, so he's going to play. And then who is Jeff Smith? Who in the hell? Can you tell me who
that's their number
Jeff
3 wide receiver?
Smith is? Okay, this is a guy 6'1" out of Boston College. So far on the year, he's got 11 receptions for 112 yards. Look for him to be playing big time snaps in this game because they really don't have much. I mean, I can't really blame Flacco too much for having a horrible game. I mean, that Dolphins defense is pretty good, but when you get shut out the way they did, I mean, dude, if there's a game where the Bills can, quote unquote, right the ship for a week, not for the season, for a week, this is the game to get your confidence up.
Yeah, well, they also have injuries on the offensive line. Mekhi Becton is questionable. Their starting left guard is questionable. Lewis. I think that both of those guys will end up playing, but the fact that they're on the injury report is still of note. And, the one threat that I think that they have against the Bills, we talked about this week one too, is their tight end, Chris Herndon, but he's kind of been quiet this year too. I'm not sure if they're just not getting him the ball or if he's not getting open. But, especially against our weakened linebacker core, Chris Herndon, the tight ends, have been killing us, right, in general. So that's a guy to keep an eye on, if anybody, in this game. I mean, Frank Gore, we saw the Bills get torched in the run game, but Frank Gore doesn't scare me. Their 3rd-round rookie, what's his name that they drafted, Perrine or whatever it is, he's not a guy who scares me. They also have Ty Johnson. Excuse me, not exactly a threat in the run game, even though the Bills just got torched there. So I'm hoping that the Bills can right the ship in this game on defense. Sit the guys who are injured. Don't try and get too cute with it, bringing back guys who don't need to be there. But our offense has to get it done as well. John Brown, we have our guys are pretty injured right now too. John Brown did not practice today at Thursday night. We're recording this. So he's probably going to be out for this game, which I think is fine. Let him rest up, get ready for the next week, the Patriots, right? I'd rather have him healthy for that game than play at 50% this game. Let Gabriel Davis take those snaps again. We've seen him be productive in that role, right? We're not sure if Milano's going to be playing in this game. Again, I would just sit him out and let him. This is the Jets, right? You don't need all your best players out there. If he's a little bit injured still, just let him rest up. Put somebody else out there who can cover. There's not a lot of threats on that offense. I think they can get it done with those guys. Our injuries play a factor here too. We saw week 1, Josh Allen had a huge game against these guys, and you mentioned it too. Bless Austin, who we made fun of in that first episode back then, first episode of the season, right? Bless Austin. He's going to get blessed again by Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. And Pierre Desir too, who is known to be underperforming and has been on this team. And if there is a strength to this Jets defense, it's their defensive line. Even though they've traded some pieces there, there's still some names that can have an impact there. So I think the Bills have to attack in the pass game again in this game. I want to see Stephon Diggs catching 10 passes this game. I want to see, Gabriel Davis getting 10 passes. Let's not even talk about Cole Beasley. Like, who's going to cover Beasley in this game? So I expect Josh Allen to have another huge game passing. Hopefully they can get the run game going a little bit, but this isn't the team you want to try and get cute with and get the running game going and hand the ball off half the time, right? Air attack, that's what you're going to need to do in this one.
Yeah, I mean, the Jets, kind of like the Bills, aren't doing anything well on the defensive end right now. They're averaging 4.2 yards per carry on defense. That's 20th in the NFL, which is better than the Bills. I think we're ranked 25th or something like that. The Jets don't protect the quarterback very well. So I would expect McDermott to send a little bit of heat, send a little bit of pressure, whether that's Sam Darnold or Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco's not very mobile at all. I think he was sacked 4 times last week against the Dolphins. So, you don't have to – you can disguise your blitzes. You don't have to, get too exotic with it. Basically, I think if you can – Trey White's going to take care of Jamison Crowder. I mean, I really do hope that they, make sure Trey is over there on that side. And then Frank Gore is averaging, I believe, 3.3 yards per carry this year. So, that's not going to get it done. I mean, it's so funny that the Jets can't even agree to disagree, right? Like, you got Greg Williams coming out talking about, well, the defense is not performing because, well, the offense is so bad. Well, I mean, it's vice versa. I mean, these guys, it's this turmoil, man. They don't have any synergy. They're kind of all over the place, and that's not going to lead to wins. I don't expect the Jets to come out here and win, and I believe if you allow Frank Gore to have 20 damn yards rushing, 30 yards rushing, you should be ashamed of yourself.
Yeah,
you should be able to handle him quite well.
Yeah, we know what he is, and we know that he's good for 2 yards a carry maybe, but any more than that, and it's embarrassing. So, let's keep their game in check, right? We know what's coming, and we should be able to stop them. We should be able to get a couple turnovers in this game. The Jets have just been playing miserably. They're clearly the worst team in the NFL. They're clearly tanking. They're clearly giving up on their coach who doesn't know what he's doing. The Bills have to be dominant from start to finish in this game.
Yeah, and the Jets are, I believe, 11-19 when Sam Darnold plays, and they're like 0-8 when he doesn't play. That goes to tell you that Sam Darnold is no chump. I think he can be a good quarterback. I just don't think he's in the right situation right now. So I do expect, like you mentioned, Josh Allen to have a big game through the air. I think he needs it for his confidence. I want to, what I want to see from Josh Allen this week. I want him to first take what the defense gives you. I don't want to see Josh be greedy and want to just attack. I think, Josh needs to kind of hit the reset button in terms of his mechanics and also in terms of letting the offense come to him because, there were missed throws. I mean, there are going to be missed throws every game, but there were missed throws in that Kansas City game along with the Tennessee Titans game. I think let's look for completions, right? Not necessarily touchdowns, because if you look for completions, the touchdowns will come. So, and we know Josh Allen can kind of do both. I just would like to see him get back to the fundamentals of what was making him successful earlier in the season. Not that he's been atrocious or a tire fire, but I think, we have to start putting certain things in place. I mean, it's 7 weeks now. The NFL season is not very long. We're almost halfway through the season, right? So I want to see some long-term success for the season take place. So this is the first game in which the Bills can come out here and establish themselves, whether it's defensively. Now, the offensive line is another story, right, Anthony? We got – I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah, but in this game, it shouldn't matter who you put out there. Again, their defensive line is good, but it's not going to be some dominant effort out of that defensive line. And I still trust in the guys we have on that offensive line to at least make Josh Allen feel comfortable back there, right? He doesn't have to be, even if there's pressure in his face, he can still make a play, roll out, and be comfortable, right? It's as long as they play decent, it'll be, I think, just fine for Josh Allen. His guys are going to be open. We know that, and that's what matters the most. He's going to be able to find the open guy because there's probably going to be multiple open guys, just as we said in week 1 and we saw in week 1.
Yeah, and the Bills' offensive line. I mean, you're going to have Cody Ford's probably not going to play. Quentin Spain is out the door. Brian Winters is just utter. He's having a rough time. He's not.
He's probably going to be the starter in this game.
Yeah, I mean, he pretty much has to be. I mean, like he wasn't already. Those our two guard positions are just they're rough right now. So, I mean, I don't know when Feliciano's coming back to play. That's one that they really need. Feliciano to get back in there at right guard, and maybe Cody Ford can get healthy within the next few weeks and continue to play left guard, which Cody Ford has been really rough. I mean, he had some missed blocks, getting blown off the ball. I mean, the Bills the last two games in the trenches have not been getting it done. I think, you got Quinnen Williams coming in here, and I think he has 6.5 tackles for loss. So he is showing that he can get in the backfield, which is great for them. I mean, I still think he's a wepen.
Yeah,
for
he's
them.
Still their biggest threat on defense.
Absolutely. And then Neville Hewitt is leading the team in tackles. So I don't know, man.
I still think, again, we have to light this team up. Our offense has to do what it does, and their offense is so pathetic that our defense might look good against this team, even though, it won't be time to sing their praises after this victory either.
You want to know what's funny? And I know we made fun of Pierre Desir, but the guy has 3 interceptions on the season. And on a pick 6, I think he got that in Indy, right? So he's got 3 interceptions. None of our cornerbacks on the roster have more than, 1 interception?
Yeah, not good this year,
right?
for sure.
Brian Poole is another one. I think he has 2 picks on the year. These guys are currently like 4th and 5th on their team in tackles. So, I mean, as much as horrible as they are, they do get to the ball.
Yeah.
They're around the ball. They do play a lot of defense because they're getting scored on a ton, and the offense can't do crap.
Yeah.
But, and
let's remember a couple of those were from Fitzy, right? So let's say, that's what he does. He throws touchdowns and he throws interceptions. But not taking away from those guys' interceptions. They're on the field. They're making those plays. That's great. I think Josh Allen can afford to have an interception in this game, and he's still going to score a lot. He's still going to get 4 touchdowns. It's okay to have an interception as long as you're playing well, right? If these guys make a good play and have an interception, that's great. Good on them. But it's not going to be enough to have the Jets compete with or beat the Bills at this point in the year. It shouldn't be anyway.
No. And you look at this team, I mean, they have 7 total touchdowns on the year. So they're averaging, I mean, if it's week 7, I mean, you're looking at, 1 a game? I mean, this is really bad. Yeah. This is really bad.
Would they score 10 points in the last 2 games?
God, this is really bad. And so there is nothing the Bills, honestly, and I'm going to be real right here, y'all. There is nothing that the Bills can do that's going to make me happy on Sunday. I mean, we expect you to come in here and handle the Jets. I don't care if it's a division game. You should come in here and handle this team. You should. There's no excuses.
Absolutely.
No excuses.
I agree. There's nothing that's going to excite me in this game. I don't care if Josh Allen throws for 500 yards and 5 touchdowns or 6 touchdowns. It's not going to get me super excited. You're doing what you're supposed to do against this team, right? So I agree that there's definitely some things they could do that would make me angry. If they let the Jets stay in this game or let them drive down the field and look like a legitimate NFL team when they are not, clearly are not, then that's going to be, we're going to have a lot to talk about the next week as we prepare for the Patriots. But the Bills should dominate this start to finish, as we've said, and there's no question that they need to come out and make a statement again and get back on track.
You know what, Anthony? I'm going to take that back. There is one thing that the Bills can do that will make me happy, is if they win the game in the trenches, both offensive and defensive line. If we can start there, that's what I want to see, because they got their lunch eaten in the trenches the past few weeks.
They did. That's true.
Right? And I mean, you look at that Chiefs game, these guys are getting just blown off the ball, both sides. You had guys who, rookie guards or young guards coming in. I mean, it's just dude, these guys are killing our defensive line. and the Bills could not get any pressure, it seems. So I definitely want to see the Bills offensive line be able to open up some holes for the running game. I don't want to see them getting blown off the ball. I don't want to see missed assignments. So that would make me happy. But there's outside of that, Anthony, there is nothing that the Bills are going to do that is going to put a smile on my face, really.
All right, so let's do it then. Bold prediction and final score. What do you got?
Oh, man, I'm going to go 28-10 Bills.
All right, I'm going to go 31-13 Bills. And
All right.
I think Josh Allen has 4 touchdowns.
Okay. A bold prediction would be Devin Singletary has a 100-yard game and 2 touchdowns. That would be a bold prediction.
That is a bold prediction at this point, yeah.
But we'll see. That's bold. That's me shooting for the stars. You know, I definitely want to see my guy get it together, get this offensive line together. The timing's bad. When you look at the film, dude, your jaw and your mouth will just drop because you'll see all the missed opportunities that, you know, from the line to the quarterback to the wide. I mean, they just need to sync up, and I think we'll see a much better product on the field. So before we even let's kind of put the Jets to bed, okay? Anthony, you've been excellent this year when it comes to betting and getting our fans in the right mindset to win some money. So what we're going to do, let's go ahead and kick off the 5 for 5 segment with Anthony Romeo, the doctor. The doctor's going to get you some bills this week. No pun intended. But he's going to put a little money in your pocket. Overall, the Cover One Network, we're ranked number 9 in terms of
networks in the country. On Tally site with our picks.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So Greg Tomset, Eric, Anthony Quinn,
Aaron Quinn,
and then Anthony. I haven't been on Tally site. I probably should do it, but we're kicking ass and taking names. So number 9 in the country.
Yeah,
in
and
the nation.
both Greg and I were in the top 25, so that's pretty good there out of like 1,500 people or something like that.
Yeah, so without further ado,
shabby.
Anthony, you go ahead and take it away. Give us the 5 for 5.
All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Another good week. Last week I went 3-2 again with the big bet of the week hitting once again. And wow, what a game that was. If you didn't watch that Tennessee game, which was my big bet of the week last week, the Texans decided to go for 2, missed it to keep it within 7. Tennessee comes down with 0 time left on the clock, scores a touchdown to tie it. It goes into overtime. The Tennessee Titans win the toss, and I said, all right, if the line was 3.5, so I needed them to score a touchdown to win it. Sure enough, on that drive in overtime, they score the touchdown. Game over. We win the big bet of the week again. And I went 3-2 again with my picks last week. That leaves me at 21-9 on these picks against the spread. Man, are we winning money. So let's keep it going. All right, this is week 7, and I'm going to start with my big bet of the week, and that is the Seattle Seahawks minus 3.5 versus the Arizona Cardinals. And I tell you what, I just think this Seattle Seahawks team is the hottest team on offense right now. They're playing so well. I got to see the Arizona Cardinals beat up on the Dallas Cowboys on Monday night, but I wasn't that impressed with what they were doing. I didn't think they were doing anything really amazing in that game. They should have won by more than that, actually. And I think just Russell Wilson and that team is going to tear them apart. I do think that they win by more than 3.5. So that's our big bet of the week this week. Seattle minus 3.5 at Arizona. My next bet is the San Francisco 49ers getting 2.5 points against the New England Patriots. Now, we just saw the New England Patriots were beat up in that game against the Broncos, but they allowed 6 field goals and couldn't get anything done on offense. Sure, the Broncos defense is decent, but they aren't anything spectacular that New England offense couldn't get going. And now this San Francisco defense has a few of their guys back and looked like they were playing to contend again against a Rams team last week. I cannot believe that the San Francisco 49ers are not the favorite in this game. They're getting 2.5 points. This one was also almost my big bet of the week. So both of these, I am heavy favorites on these picks. San Francisco plus 2.5 at New England. My third pick of the week, and this one is situational now given the COVID situation. I'm taking the Raiders plus 2.5 against Tampa Bay. This was originally the Sunday night game. They flexed it to a 1 o'clock game because the Raiders had an offensive lineman who tested positive and is on the COVID-19 list. And because of that, their other players, mainly offensive linemen, all of their starting offensive linemen are now on the COVID list and have to show no symptoms for 5 days before being cleared to play or practice. And that would give them Saturday and Sunday they could play. So hopefully those guys are healthy and they're able to play. If they do, I really like this Las Vegas Raiders team. Plus 2.5 versus Tampa Bay. I think the Raiders win this game, in fact, if they are healthy and ready to go. So that's my third pick. The Raiders getting 2.5 at home versus Tampa Bay. My fourth pick of the week is the New Orleans Saints minus 7 points versus the Carolina Panthers. Now, I've actually liked Carolina in a lot of games this year, but the Saints have something to prove. They're getting Michael Thomas back. They're coming off a bye. Drew Brees is going to be ready. I think they absolutely beat the Carolina Panthers pretty handedly in this game. So that's my fourth big bet of the week. And my fifth team of the week here, the Atlanta Falcons came back big time last week. Now that they've got Julio Jones back, totally different team. They're playing the Detroit Lions this week at home, and they're only minus 1.5, so it's basically a pick'em game. I like Atlanta in this one. So those are my 5 big bets of the week, starting with Seattle at Arizona, minus 3.5. San Francisco, plus 2.5 at New England. The Raiders, plus 2.5 versus Tampa Bay. The Saints, minus 7 versus Carolina. And the Atlanta Falcons, minus 1.5 versus the Detroit Lions. Let's keep this win streak going and cash it in.
Well, damn, dude, good job, man, on that, because I have yet. I'm trying to venture into the sports betting world. Dude, I'm scared to do it, man. I tried DraftKings years ago, lost my money, and I was like, you know what? Hell no, y'all ain't taking my money on that ever again. So, but you know what, man? There's a way to do it, and just watching you rack it up week after week is pretty damn cool. So, that's the 5 for 5 segment. Man, I mean, we've been going for over an hour. Is there, you know what? Let's talk about this, Anthony. Let's talk about how our fans can find us. I'll start with myself. My Twitter handle's at @ForwardSterling, and this is the Cover One Network. Okay, we're giving you. We got a Tuesday. Oh, you know what, Anthony? Even though we said we were done, we got to do our picks. I totally forgot about the picks. See, this is what happens when Eric is not here, okay, and I have to narrate the show. I forget stuff, man, because I'm old, right? So, yeah, let's kick off these picks, and then we'll sign off.
All right, let's try this again here. We got our 1 o'clock games on Sunday. We'll start with the Detroit Lions at the Atlanta Falcons. You already heard my pick here. I'm going with the Atlanta Falcons. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. I'll bet the over as well. What do you think, Sterling?
I'm going to go with the Falcons on this game. I think, them getting an actual win. It was good to see Julio Jones play. So I'm going to go with the win on this one.
All right. How about the second game here? Cleveland at the Cincinnati Bengals.
Man, as much as I want to pick the Bengals, I got to go with Cleveland. I just think they're the better team right now. Baker Mayfield is trash, but, he has a surrounding cast that can get it done.
Yeah, I agree. I hate Baker Mayfield. He's second to Tom Brady on my list of hated NFL players. I just don't believe in the guy, and that team is winning despite him. I really want to pick Cincinnati and Joe Burrow here, but again, I just think, Cleveland's the better team all around, and Cincinnati's still finding their groove, still getting it done, so I'll pick Cleveland to win this one. All right, the third game we got here is probably the game of the week in my mind, for the AFC especially, the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Tennessee Titans. Who you taking?
I'm going to go with the Tennessee Titans on this one, just because the fact that, I think the Steelers really haven't played a tough opponent yet, and I think, Tennessee is really tough in the trenches, and I think this game will be won in the trenches.
Yeah, I mean, I said that Tennessee could be the best team in the AFC right now, but I'm actually taking the Steelers in this game. I think they're playing hot football right now, as are the Titans, but they're going to, make a statement, go into Tennessee, show that they're the better team, take control of their division, take control of the AFC, really, if they continue to stay undefeated. So I'm going to take Pittsburgh in that game. All right, we're moving on to Carolina at the New Orleans Saints. Again, you already heard my pick. I took New Orleans -7, so I think they're going to win this one probably by at least 2 scores. Sterling, who you got?
I'm going to go with the Saints. I mean, it'd be nice to have a bold prediction here and say that, Carolina's going to win. But the Saints are just a better football team. And I think they'll continue to kind of put the wheels on the tires here. And I think they'll get the W.
All right, so now we're moving on to one of the games that is the lowly NFC East. The Dallas Cowboys at the Washington football team. This is a pathetic game here. What do you think's going to happen? Who you got?
So the Cowboys are sitting at the top of the division at 2-4.
That's pretty sad.
That's pedestrian.
There was an article horrible. I read today that the NFC East could have a 4-game division winner, 4 wins division
wow,
winner. That's pretty sad.
That's awful. But so I mean, it's going to be the battle of have-nots. I mean, you got Dalton and Kyle Allen are going to be playing quarterback this week. So I'm going to go Dallas here. I think the Red Rifle gets it done. How can you not pass to Cooper and Lamb? I mean, it's just incredible. Zeke's having his fumble issues. I think he rights the ship this week, so I'll go with the Cowboys.
Yeah, fool me once, right? I did pick Arizona to beat Dallas in that game. I didn't think they were going to get their butts handed to them by as much as they did. But they just still have too much talent on that offense. Their defense is pathetic, but their offense is unbelievable. It should be anyway with the talent they have on that side, even with the backup Andy Dalton, who is a previous longtime starter in this league. So I'm going to go with Dallas to win this one as well. All right, that brings us to another good game this weekend. The Green Bay Packers at the Houston Texans. What do you got?
Well, Green Bay, obviously. I don't know. I mean, I know, Houston got a win last week, which is great. I love to see Deshaun Watson ball out. But I think, the Packers are going to have something to prove. They didn't run the ball very well due to, the getting blown out. But I think, it was a wake-up call for that team. I think they're going to come out here and handle business on Sunday against the Texans.
Yeah, I mean, Houston's coming off a huge win. They're playing at home here. Green Bay coming off a huge loss, where they got their butts handed to them by Tampa Bay. I think I'd like to say that Houston would win this game, but I'm going to pick Green Bay. Houston, I think, was like a 4-point underdog, so I would probably take Houston with the points, but I'm picking Green Bay to win this one. All right, that moves us on to Tampa Bay at the Vegas Raiders. This was another one of my picks of the week. I think the Vegas Raiders are going to win this game, assuming they have an offensive line, assuming the game is played. So I think the Vegas Raiders could play their top defense. Now that they've got Henry Ruggs back, man, are they a different team on offense. They can run, they can pass, they can get the job done. They kind of kill you slowly. They're not an explosive offense, but they get the job done, and I'd like to see them beat Tampa Bay.
So here's what I'll say to that. Well, who doesn't love Henry Ruggs? I mean, he was my draft stud. I love Henry Ruggs. Love watching him play. But the thing is that so the Raiders offensive line, they're all on the COVID list, all of them, starting offensive line. I don't know who's going to be available to play Sunday from that offensive line, but if they're going to have people out, it's going to be a big issue moving forward. And one of the strengths of this Tampa Bay defense is their front seven, and their secondary is great too. But they're going to have a hard time, so I have to go with Tampa Bay in this game.
Kills me.
I know, because you hate Brady. I know you'll pick anybody against them.
Again, I just think Raiders are playing well right now. They can beat that team. All right, that brings us to Kansas City at Denver, right here in Denver, our home city. Who you got?
I'm going to go with the Chiefs. Now, I will say this. Drew Lock plan for the Broncos is definitely a step in the right direction. I don't know if Noah Fant's going to play this week. He's questionable right now. They did get their running back. What's his name? God, I cannot remember the running back's name.
Melvin Gordon?
No, the other one. Lindsey. Philip Lindsey.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Philip Lindsey's back. He played all right last week. against the Patriots. So I really do think that, the Denver Broncos will put up a fight, but I don't think they'll get the job done against the Chiefs. Even though it's a division game and they do always play them tight, I just don't think this is the week.
Man, that Denver Broncos defense looked amazing last weekend against the New England Patriots. Now, whether that means the Patriots are terrible or that their defense is finally getting on track despite the loss of Von Miller, who knows? But the Kansas City Chiefs are a different kind of offense. We just saw that. I do think Kansas City wins this game. I'd like to see Denver keep it close. I know they're, I think, like a 9.5-point underdog. I took Denver with the points again this week. But it can compete with Kansas City. I just don't know if they're ready to beat them yet. All right, so that brings us to another game I already picked. The San Francisco 49ers at the New England Patriots. The San Francisco 49ers are getting 2.5 points in this game. That's why I picked them. I think they could beat New England handedly, especially the way they looked against the Denver Broncos. Like I said, the San Francisco team is better than that on both sides of the ball. So I'm picking the 49ers. Who you got?
Who's the home team in this game?
New England. It's in New England.
Okay, I'm going to go with the Patriots here. West Coast teams
last week was in New England too,
for sure. I just think, West Coast teams have a hard time traveling to the East Coast like that. I do think that this running game for the Patriots is something lethal, something to be, schemed for. And I feel like Cam Newton had a bad game last week. I think he gets on track this week. Belichick rarely loses 2 games in a row.
Well, I think he's going to this time.
I would be more than thrilled if they lost.
Right, we all are rooting for San Francisco. There's no doubt about that. All right, here we go. The next game is the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Los Angeles Chargers. Who you got?
I'm going to go with the Chargers. Justin Herbert's a baller, man. He's a baller. And, I think San Diego, they could kind of sneak into the playoffs as that 7th seed.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely good. And you owe me a buck. That was the Los Angeles Chargers, you mean, right? So,
I can't help it, dude.
I know, right? I still call them it, too, but let's go here. Yeah, I'm going to pick the Chargers in this one, too. I think, Herbert's playing some great football. We know they already have a defense. There's word is that Tyrod Taylor will be back as the backup now. So they're officially sticking to Herbert after what he's shown he can do and impressed on the field. I think the Chargers win this one. And then we have what's moved to the Sunday night game, another game you already heard me pick, the Seattle Seahawks at the Arizona Cardinals. I'm going with Seattle. Who you got?
Just for the sake of being different, I'll go with the Arizona Cardinals. I know Seattle's playing well. They haven't shown me that they can play well on the defensive end yet, or defensive side of the ball yet. So I think Hopkins and Kyler Murray are going to have a heyday. I think they can get it done.
All right, let's see if that happens. That's my big bet of the week, so I hope you're wrong there. And then we've got the Monday night matchup, the Chicago Bears, who we talked about earlier in the show, at the Los Angeles Rams. This should be another great matchup. Who you got?
I'm going to go with the Bears here. I think the matchups favor the Bears in this game, just because they are going to smother this offensive line for the LA Rams. God damn,
you did it again. All right.
I know. I think that, Allen Robinson and Cohen and these guys, I think they got something going on. Maybe Montgomery can kind of kick things off and have a great game. I mean, don't get me wrong. I do like the LA Rams. I mean, I really do, but I just think the Bears, they just got it right now. I think they're going to beat the Rams.
Yeah, it looks like the NFL finally nailed it with one of these Monday night games here.
Yeah.
Chicago at the Rams. I'm going to go with the Rams winning this game. I think it'll be close and competitive. Should be a fun game to watch, but the Rams are at home, and they still have that guy, Aaron Donald, who is going to be a beast on the field. So I'm going to go with the Rams. And that wraps up our picks for the week. Are we ready to sign off this time for real?
Okay, so for real this time, I think we're done. Okay, I really do think we're done. Again, this is the Cover One Network. This is the Hoof Podcast. And we out of here.
Go Bills.